Hi everyone, my name is Preetaka and I'll be presenting a marketing strategy for ABC Inc. Microbonds platform focused on a pilot project in Detroit. The strategy will look at how we can effectively engage residents and build participation in funding local infrastructure. To bring some structure to the case study, I first list out what the problem is and where the opportunity lies. So to start with the problem, currently, like the traditional municipal financing largely excludes residents from participating, and that's because of the high minimum investments, the opaque processes, and limited visibility into how the funds are used to build infrastructure for the community, and all of which makes it hard for people to connect and people to, even if they connect, then to have that income to invest. And I think this is where the opportunity kind of comes in for the micro bonds, which will allow residents to invest even something as small as $25. And the transparent tracking that the blockchain technology will bring will help them see where the money goes and thus building that trust. And very importantly, the residents will also be able to see visible outcomes of their investment, which would be the infrastructure in their community. Before we get into anything else, marketing strategy, it's important to understand the market context itself. And here it is the city of Detroit. Anyone who's been on Detroit with will agree with all of this. The first one being that the people in Detroit have a really strong sense of local identity and they care about their neighborhoods and there is a pride attached to it. There is, of course, a lot of income disparities and there is the historical skepticism towards financial institutions and government programs, and which means that trust is going to be a key factor in the things that the Michael Bonds company wants to do. But on the positive side, there is need for infrastructure like builds and bridges and roads and public facilities, and which means that any change there would result in a really visible impact that the community can see. And lastly, the digital adoption is growing, but the financial literacy kind of varies. So community education will have to remain key and it has to be simple. Um, moving to market segmentation, I think I would segment it into four categories. The first one being the civic-minded residents. These are the people who are already invested in community development and are already doing a bunch of things to help with that. The secondly would be the young professionals. These are the people who are really comfortable with digital platforms, who are probably more likely to be using financial tools, etc. The third is the community oriented families. These are the people who've lived there for really long, who are really interested in the neighborhood improvement. And lastly are the low income residents. And these are the people that care about community impact and have the highest interest in that, but have the limited ability to invest without very low entry points. So this is a critical segment to keep in mind as we think about marketing and platform design. In terms of target audience prioritization, I would prioritize the civic-minded middle-income residents as the primary target, and secondly would be the young professionals. The reason I think the civic-minded middle-income residents should be the primary target is because of two things. One, they care about local development, and we already know that because of their prior activities, etc. But at the same time, they also have the ability to invest, making them like the really good starting point for adoption. Um, as a secondary audience, we could target the young professionals, the digitally savvy residents, and these would be people who are in the age groups of 25 to 40, and they are active on social media and are more comfortable to like use digital platforms and put their money in relation to digital platforms. So I think together these two target audiences will be a really good would be really good early adopters, and then we can build on them. In terms of positioning, I would say the positioning statement should look something like communicating that it will enable the residents to invest in improving their own city, offering a more accessible and transparent way for residents to participate in the funding of their city. The key differentiators here, I would say, is first the local impact because they can see where their money is going. Second would be the low barrier to entry, where basically small investment amounts would be enough for them to participate. Third would be the blockchain transparency, which will basically help them track where their money is going and like see it very clearly. And lastly would be the community connection, which is that the people are not just investing financially, but they're also contributing and building their own neighborhoods for generations to come. In terms of the marketing channels that we should employ, I would say it should be a mix of community-based channels, digital channels, and also on-ground, on-field visibility. Focusing on the community-based channels, what I mean here is like conducting town halls, partnering with churches and faith-based organizations and other trusted local organizations, collaborating with local nonprofits, etc. The idea here is to build trust, one directly by holding their own town halls, and two indirectly through organizations that the community already trusts. The second channel would be the digital channels where we use social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, and we also do some targeted emailing, etc. The lastly, which I think would be important in a project like this, is the on-ground visibility, where you use things like QR codes at the project sites where the infrastructure would be built with information on the investment, local radio partnerships, physical signage at the construction sites, and just like physically like showing like the visible outcomes that we want the residents to see, already plotting towards that and like putting up signage in relation to that. So that's the marketing channels. In terms of the messaging strategy, I think we should be kept simple and relatable. I was thinking small taglines like invest in the Detroit you want to live in, or saying see where exactly your money goes, etc., are good ways to very simply communicate what this complex project is essentially doing. A few guidelines to keep in mind is to keep the language non-technical, avoid focusing too much on the blockchain technology itself, and instead focus on the transparency it would bring, emphasize on visible outcomes like bridges, parks, and schools, build trust, and kind of lead the messaging with the community benefits more than the technology itself. And then use the resident testimonials and community partner endorsements to validate and create the credibility in the first place. The next is going to be the expansion opportunities. I think once the pilot is successful, there are several ways the project can expand. It can expand into more infrastructure projects, which is in terms of roads, bridges, public transit, etc. Or it could get into educational facilities. It could get into creating public spaces, shared public spaces like parks, playgrounds, etc., and even affordable housing. The key would be to start with like really highly visible, high impact projects to build the trust and then scale from there. So over time, it can really grow into larger bond offerings and broader participation across the city. To summarize and conclude, the microbonds can really create an opportunity to expand access to investment and allowing residents to shape the communities they live in. It could, by starting with a community, but I mean, build the, sorry. The second thing would be that by building that trust visibly, it can lead to other further projects that will help build the momentum and help scale it to larger neighborhoods and eventually to other cities. And I would say that Detroit can really become a model for how the residents actively invest and shape the communities and are not just investing money in that sense. That is all. Thank you.